Did you know that 100 euros today will only buy you 74 euros worth of goods in 10 years, assuming average inflation of 3% per year? You did not spend it. You did not lose it. You just held it. And inflation quietly took 26% of its value while you were not looking. Today we explain exactly what inflation is, why it happens, and what you can do about it. So what actually is inflation? Inflation is the rate at which prices rise over time, which means the rate at which your money loses purchasing power. When inflation is 3% per year, something that costs 100 euros today will cost 103 euros next year, and 109 euros the year after, and 134 euros in 10 years. The money did not change. The number on the bill is still the same. But what you can buy with it shrinks every single year. The most common way to measure inflation is the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. It tracks the average price of a basket of goods and services that households typically buy: food, energy, housing, clothing, transport. When that basket gets more expensive, inflation is rising. So why does inflation happen? Inflation has three main causes: too much money chasing too few goods. When central banks print money or keep interest rates very low, there is more money in the economy. More money competing for the same amount of goods pushes prices up. This is what happened after COVID. Governments sent stimulus checks. Central banks flooded the system with liquidity. Inflation hit 9% in the US and over 10% in parts of Europe. Supply shocks. When the supply of something important suddenly falls, energy, food, semiconductors, prices spike. The 2022 energy crisis after Russia's invasion of Ukraine is a perfect example. Oil prices doubled. Gas prices tripled. Inflation followed. Wage inflation. When wages rise faster than productivity, companies pass the higher cost on to consumers through higher prices. This creates a wage price spiral that is very difficult to stop once it starts. Here's the part most people do not think about. Inflation does not just raise prices, it destroys savings. If your savings account pays 1% interest and inflation is 3%, you're losing 2% of your purchasing power every single year. Your balance goes up, but what you can buy with it goes down. 10,000 euros in a savings account, earning 1% over 10 years becomes 11,046 euros. Sounds fine, but if inflation averaged 3% over that same period, the purchasing power of that 11,046 euros is only worth 8,220 euros in today's money. You lost over 1,700 euros in real terms without spending a single euro. This is why saving money in a low-interest account is not safe. It is a guaranteed slow loss. So how to protect yourself? There are three ways to protect your money from inflation. 1. Invest in assets that grow faster than inflation. The S&P 500 has returned roughly 10% annually on average over the last century. Inflation averaged roughly 3% over the same period. The real return, after inflation, is approximately 7% per year. Owning the stock market is the most proven, long-term inflation hedge available to ordinary investors. 2. Avoid holding too much cash. Cash loses value every year inflation exists. Keep enough for emergencies, typically 3 to 6 months of expenses. Everything beyond that should be working for you. 3. Understand what you own. Real assets, stocks, property, commodities tend to hold their value during inflationary periods because their prices rise with inflation. Fixed income assets, bonds, savings accounts tend to suffer because the fixed return gets eroded. Inflation is not a dramatic event. It does not happen overnight. It compounds quietly, the same way interest compounds. But in reverse, the investors who understand it protect themselves. The investors who ignore it watch their savings slowly disappear. If you want to understand exactly how to invest to beat inflation over the long term, check out my compound interest video and my index fund video, both links in the description.